Learn on the go with the Lazy Trader on Demand. Exclusively from thelazytrader.com.
Well, today we are privileged to have a man who is 22 times #1 best-selling author. He has over 4 decades worth of experience in being a serial entrepreneur, a business mentor, growing fledgling companies into fully blown success stories. It's none other than Ron G. Holland. Ron, welcome.
Hello, Rob. Pleased to be here. Nice to talk to you.
Well, thank you for coming. It's always a pleasure to have people like your good self on the show. Where to start? You certainly are very prolific, Ron. From growing and developing small businesses, business mentoring, writing books, internet marketing, network marketing. Just how you do put this all on your business card, yellow in your diary. Yeah, so how did you get onto this journey? All the way back when?
That's a good question. In the kind of early and mid-70s, I had finished my apprenticeship as a carpenter and I was absolutely fed up with it. So more or less the day I finished my apprenticeship in the building trade, I set up my first motorcycle shop. And that was just up by Chessington Zoo. And fortuitously for me, somebody gave me a copy of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And I didn't just read it, I studied it avidly over and over again. And very quickly, I became the largest motorcycle dealer in South London. I had 7 motorcycle shops. I accidentally picked up 2 furniture shops on the way and a 40-bedroom hotel.
Well done.
Of course, yeah.
Nice problem to have. Wow, okay.
Yeah, it was a nice problem. But as a young man, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I nearly went bankrupt. And fortuitously for me, I met a grey-haired old Irishman, Seamus O'Rourke, who I talk about all the time. And he helped me turn what he called my mini empire. He helped me turn it around, and we went on to make a fortune. And I enjoyed the experience so much, I thought I'd write a book about it. And that book was Debt-Free with Financial Kung Fu. It became a mail order bestseller, and I've been writing books ever since. And that was 1977, 40 years ago. And that book is still bringing in royalties. Not a huge amount, but enough to buy a nice steak dinner every month. But after 40 years, it's still selling all over the world.
Awesome.
So that's how I got on the journey. Very exciting.
Well, you're big on passive income. I mean, not just the royalties from being an author, a prolific one at that, but also network marketing as well.
Yeah, network marketing, anything where there's residual income, I think is good. Absolutely.
So you wrote your first book back in 1977, before
Yeah.
Yeah, before I was even born, actually. So you've been around for a long time.
You're making me feel old.
So it's very inspirational that your rapid rise to stardom has been a result of failure in the early days.
Yeah, absolutely. And funnily enough, in all of my books, over the years, I've had some tremendous successes, but I've also had failures along the way. And I make that very clear in my books. I talk about the failures as much as I do successes. And I really do believe young people these days, they don't fail enough. They don't try hard enough. And obviously, if they had more and more failures, eventually they'd have a success. And I think that's what you've got to do. Don't look out for failure. You're looking out for success. But don't be frightened of failure.
Hey, that's a very interesting point, actually, about kids in this day and age not being allowed to fail. Would you put that down to this kind of feather-bedded like notion, whereas in schools, people get a medal for coming last, second last, 8th, 10th, 11th in races, and
Yep.
Essentially, I mean, I read a very good article quite recently about this kind of behaviour being detrimental, because as soon as they have to go to the big, bad, wide old world and fend for themselves, it becomes very difficult.
No, I can imagine. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that was a very good article, and it's good that you kind of have brought it up because it is something which is, an issue of today.
Yeah, sure.
So in your book, The Eureka Enigma, you discuss visualization techniques to help overcome obstacles and problems in business. Is it fair to say that you're an advocate of the view, whatever the mind can conceive, the mind can achieve?
Absolutely, and I'd have to say, Rob, more than an advocate, I am passionate, and where that comes from is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And that book has sold millions of copies, and obviously I wrote Talk and Grow Rich. So over a 40-year period, I've talked to a lot of people who've read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and gone on to read my book, and I've quizzed them about this saying: whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Right? But unfortunately, Rob, most people start at the wrong end of the formula. They get an idea and they immediately start to achieve it, and they try and they try and they try. And many times, often as not, they fail because they've started at the wrong end of the formula. The formula is whatever the mind of man can conceive. So what do I mean by conceive? Well, conceive in mental images, visualizations of the thing that you're trying to accomplish. And it's not always easy for everybody to visualize, but that's what you've got to do. You've got to engage your right brain, because when you engage your left brain and your right brain, thinking in words and pictures, your mind then kicks in like a computer. It's what I call the biocomputer effect. So once you've conceived something, then you won't have any problem at all believing it, because in the conceiving of it, you will find a way of actually doing it. So therefore, it's easier to believe it. So when you've conceived it and believed it, the achieving of it happens more or less instantaneously. And that's what they call the kind of the law of attraction. Getting into that space where you're conceiving things, the belief happens, and then the materialization happens. So if I've got a very strong message, it's saying to people, start at the right end of the formula, start putting all your mental energies into conceiving things, not trying to achieve things, and it'll be a lot easier for you.
So you'd say engaging the right brain as well, which is more the emotional side. Would you say, to not sum it up, that you've got to feed it as well, visualize where you're going to be?
Absolutely. I think you've got to use both. And I'd like to even add more to that. Yes, you've got to do your visualizations, your affirmations in the left brain over and again, affirmations. Then you've got to kind of visualize what it is you're trying to achieve. And in a way, Rob, that is putting the input into the mind, feeding the mind. And I think people are good at that. And they listen to audios, they watch videos, they have mastermind groups, they input. But what they don't do, or many of them fail to do, is listen to the output. Because obviously a computer has got to have input, but it's got to have output. So the output of the human biocomputer comes in the form of eurekas, epiphanies, ideas, hunches, inspirations, but you can't really hear it because it is the small, still voice. So the only way to listen and hear the output is, if you like, and I wrote about this in Talk and Grow Rich in 1981, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you, in silence, stillness and solitude. And as Edison said, when you become quiet, it just dawns on you. Right? Now, most people are so busy in their lives doing the webinars, doing the seminars, listening to the audios in their cars, in their university on wheels. They get themselves so busy, they forget to listen to the output. And when I'm mentoring people, I really say you've got to start listening for hunches, ideas, inspirations, that small, still voice. And that's a missing bit for a lot of people.
Wow, fascinating. I mean, I can relate to that certainly. I'm from Cornwall originally, and I've moved to London, and I find that I achieve more in the quietness and relative solitude of Cornwall in my day than I do working in London. Doing nothing different. It's just when I escape from the hustle and bustle of city life, surrounded by people rushing around and being caught up in this perpetual motion, I find that when I escape that, my brain opens up.
Absolutely. And if I may, Rob, I'd like to give you a couple of examples of that. One of my big heroes, and it's timely and topical now,
Sure.
Donald Trump. When you study him, he spends 4 or 5 hours every morning in solitude on his own, with all the phones off, nobody coming through the door, no men, no women, nothing. Just 5 hours on his own, planning the day ahead, right? Another one to do that, and he died recently, billionaire Felix Dennis, an incredible guy. He would go into no mind, and he says, obviously he had loads of publishing businesses, all sorts of things, but he says his most creative time was when he was on his own on his boat. He used to just kick back, put the kettle on, no phone calls, no secretaries, nothing. Silence, stillness and solitude, listening to the output. And in his book, How to Get Rich, I think it's called, he mentions that a number of times. Get into no mind. He doesn't call it no mind, he calls it something else, but it's this state of mind where you're deliberately not thinking of anything, just listening to the output. Powerful stuff, powerful.
I can understand. So for people listening right now who might be living in the city, wherever it might be in the world, I mean, would it be fair to say like an equivalent of doing that might just be going for a run or working out, where you just don't think, you escape from the kind of the
Rob, you've hit the nail on the head. And the funny bit about it is everybody's different. So it might be a run, it might be a swim, it might be a bicycle ride, it could be anything. Everybody's got to find it. Could be playing the piano, could be sitting in the garden, could be just meditating. Everybody's got to find that silence, stillness and solitude for themselves, and we're all different. Everybody's wired up differently. Don't forget, in our billion-dollar biocomputers we've got 100 billion cells, and no two biocomputers are wired up the same. So everybody's got to find what works for them, and you've got to work with it. You've got to find how to get that space, what I call going into the vortex, where you can really hear the output, the big ideas, the hunches and eurekas. And of course, when they come, you've got to follow them through. And if you like, that's one of my big success secrets. I get an idea to open a shop or write a book, I absolutely get on with it immediately, because of course action is one of the crucial components of success. Action.
Absolutely. So I mean, it's fair to say, I mean, certainly from my own experiences, when you're trying to force an idea, it doesn't happen. But say if you literally just let the idea come to you,
yep,
I mean, that really kind of is applicable to what we're talking, or what you're talking about here, about escaping.
Very much so.
So I think, would it be fair to say that now it's more important than ever to escape the hustle and bustle, with the world of WhatsApp, Facebook, like smartphones pinging all the time. Literally, we live in very fragmented worlds with different snippets of news coming through, different messages on different mediums, all kind of like fragmenting a linear way of thinking. Is it fair to say?
Absolutely. And don't forget, I've got computers. I don't know how many mobile phones I've got. It's a nightmare. But I've got the savvy to walk out and just leave it all behind. And when I go for a walk in the country or drive in the country, you don't think I take my mobile phone with me? Absolutely not, right? And that's a discipline, because most of the youngsters these days, they have to be looking at that screen. And in a way, it's fatal, because what you're doing is more input, and you're not giving time for the brain to assimilate that input and then get the output. So it really is problematical. And I can't emphasize enough silence, stillness and solitude out in the country on your own, no mobile phone, get into the vortex and listen to the output. I think, if anything, people give too much input. There's webinars and seminars and audios and books to read, the television's on, wall-to-wall news, too much input, and actually hardly any output at all. And one of my big strengths, of course, I get huge amount of output, not just for my own projects. I've got clients all over the world, Russia, India, North America, of course, in the UK, because I'm based in the UK. And those clients of mine expect solutions to their problems almost immediately. They don't want me to go away for 3 months or 3 years and come back to them. They want those solutions. Yeah. So obviously I have to tune my mind in to coming up with those solutions for them very, very quickly. And I get it by listening to the small, still voice. Can't emphasize that enough.
How interesting. I mean, this all seems pretty mind-blowing, actually, when it comes to certainly thinking, when it comes to business. But I know that when it comes to financial markets trading, we always teach people to think very left brain. You have to be very rational and very kind of like bull-minded and rules orientated to be a successful financial markets trader. We have to discourage them from getting emotionally involved in trading. I know it's slightly different, but when it comes to business, would it be fair to say, I'm going to ask you here quite plainly, why do you think it is that it's always the same people that seem to be coming up with better ideas or more ideas than others?
I have to say, I think those people who are coming up with the big ideas are definitely programming their minds for products, ideas, success, for marketing ideas. But whether they stumble upon it intuitively or by design or accident, they definitely get that output, which is the ideas, the epiphanies, the hunches. And like you say, many of them, they go off and they play tennis or a game of pool or swimming or whatever it is. And that's where the expression comes from, work hard and play hard. So those high flyers, when they're playing hard, that their brain has stopped working, and that's when the ideas come flooding out. And like you're right, when you go jogging, you suddenly find yourself on cloud nine, and wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I always have a pad and a pen with me, because I know I get prolific output for my own books, for my own projects, for my motorbike projects, for clients, and I have to write those ideas down when they come. And you can imagine in one book, you've got literally thousands of individual ideas. Every sentence, every paragraph is a culmination of ideas. And you have to capture those ideas when they come. And it's a result of putting the input in, but deliberately listening to the output.
Oh, I understand. This is all very interesting stuff. I mean, it's no coincidence, of course. I mean, I was reading in Forbes magazine that, like with people who try their hand at financial markets trading, that 90% of startup businesses ultimately fail. And it's the same with people who go to the markets and try and trade. Why do you think that most people get it wrong in business? Do you think it's largely down to this?
It's an interesting question, right? I don't necessarily think people get it wrong. What I do believe, and I really believe this, and I've witnessed it over a 40-year period. I'm a business mentor for a long time. Ever since that first book came out 40 years ago, people give up too quickly. They really did. The slightest little problem and they run away and find another mountain to climb. Now, Napoleon Hill makes a real good point of it. Don't forget, Think and Grow Rich is the granddaddy of all of the books written in 1947. I love it. And everything around is based on that book in one way or another. And he talks about this persistence and not running away and finding another mountain to climb. Stick at what you've got and somehow find a way of getting to the top of the mountain, circumventing the mountain, tunneling underneath the mountain, but don't turn your back on the mountain and look for another mountain to climb. Stick with it and solve the problems that are in front of you. So I really do believe that, and I don't think people will find their success in their calling until they learn that stickability. And if I was to encourage young people, I'd say just stick with it and feel the fear and do it anyway, and not run away. And people run away far too quickly, far too easy. They just give up.
Well, I would always say the same to people who are struggling in trading, people who come to me and they might have had a bad experience elsewhere. I would never consider them to be a failure in trading until they give up and walk away. And that's pretty binary.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. Absolutely, don't walk away. Keep at it until you find a way of unlocking it and finding your own success.
Well, I've been reading quite a few autobiographies over the years by Richard Branson, actually. Losing My Virginity.
Yep.
And it's fantastic. And he's a great example of someone who has had it very difficult and has failed a number of times until he hit the jackpot. And one of my favourite guys, Rob, is Ranulph Fiennes, and he was being interviewed, and he's a guy who had triple heart bypass surgery, right? Then
He ran 5 marathons back to back on 5 separate continents. He did the North Pole and the South Pole, and he got to the top of Mount Everest, right? And the interviewer said, "How did you manage to do that?" And steely-eyed, he looked at the interviewer in the eye, and he just said, "I put one foot in front of the other." Right? And that was it. That was the end of the interview. I put one foot in front of the other. Now, I find entrepreneurs not putting one foot in front of the other and keep going and going and going. And when I'm mentoring somebody, I say, look, let's pretend we're going up Mount Everest. And yes, it's cold, but I don't want to hear your complaints. Yes, we've just lost a friend who slipped off the mountain and he's dead now. I don't want to hear your complaints. We're going to get to the top and that's it. So tighten up your scarf and put one foot in front of the other. And they just keep going and going and going and going. And of course, we've got to get over humps. We've got to go through hoops of fire. We've got to tunnel under. We've got to climb over. It's cold. It's terrible. All sorts of things are going wrong, but we don't care. We're getting rejection. We're trying to raise money. It's all difficult, but we keep going and we keep going and we keep going. One foot in front of the other. And then suddenly, oh, Ron, I'm so glad you were with me. We've raised the money. Oh, Ron, I'm so glad you were with me. We've got, one of my clients just sold out for 33 million. He's delighted, but he was in tears some of the time. Oh, we'll never raise the money. We'll never do this. Nobody's taking the marketing, But we got through all of the challenges and the humps, and we got there. And I think youngsters these days have got to just keep putting that one foot in the front of the other and going and going and going till they get there.
So you've been, this is talking about some of your most successful clients over the years, but what do you consider to be one of your most memorable personal successes over the years as well, Ron? Apart from looking younger, every time I see you look younger.
Obviously, I've had lots and lots of successes, and without a doubt, my biggest successes are the successes I've created for my clients, and we've done it over and over again. I don't know how many millionaires I've helped create, but it's a lot. Millionaires, multi-millionaires, gold medalists, world champions, and done it over and over again. But obviously my big successes, obviously all the books and audio programs and stuff that I've got out all over the world, selling in about 27 or 28 different languages. So that is a tremendous success story. But I never look at that as my success story. My big success for me is helping other people accomplish their goals, and I still love doing that. And so before, we got clients in India, Russia, North America, all over the place. And when one of them comes to fruition, whether it's we've raised them a load of money or their marketing's kicked in or they floated or whatever, that is just such a buzz helping somebody else. And we always get a nice testimonial from them. That's the biggest bit, as well as the fees, obviously. But we get a nice testimonial. Ron helped me do this. Ron helped me do that. Ron helped us raise the money. Ron helped us sell out, or whatever it was. And that is just such a buzz. We love it.
Yeah.
We want to do more.
I can imagine it being one big perpetual buzz, and certainly from my experience as well, where we help people become profitable in financial markets trading, you do get a natural buzz when you turn someone who never thought that they could do it into a profitable trader.
Absolutely. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's helping other people fulfill themselves and get to the top of the mountain.
Very true. But as you say, a lot of people fail because they just give up. That's the one thing that prevents people from succeeding.
Absolutely. What they got to do is the same day dust themselves down, jump up and start again. Even if it means starting a new business, completely new business. But whatever, don't give up. Start putting one foot in front of the other again. And that's a valuable lesson. Valuable. And Ranulph Fiennes knows it. That's his secret. How did you do all these things? Well, one foot in front of the other. There's no other secret. Yes, it was cold. A friend died. He fell off the mountain, but we kept going. We kept going. One foot in front of the other. And in business, you've got to do the same. You really have. What I call the eye of the tiger. I love that eye of the tiger. And people who succeed in business have got that eye of the tiger.
Well, it's like if you get knocked down 4 times, as long as you get up 5 times, you'll be okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know more about this stuff than I do. I hope you've listened to some of my audio products.
I certainly have, and I was so impressed. I thought I'd get in touch with you, and now we're speaking right now. So,
Brilliant.
apart from tenacity, I mean, what other raw attributes do you think ultimately help people succeed?
Well, I think it's a good question. I've got three things, and obviously there's more than that, but obviously mind power, really, really doing it. So the biggest self-help secret of all time is this: people don't do it. So they listen to the audios, they read the books, they attend the seminars, they do the webinars, but whatever they've heard, they just don't do. They go out and buy another book. So actually doing that mind power, whether it's meditation, visualization, affirmations, no mind, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, and then do your own thinking. Listen to that output. So I think that is the most important thing. Listen to the output of your billion-dollar biocomputer, number one. Number two, persistence. And I know I've just talked at length about putting one foot in front of the other and keep going and going and going, but I cannot emphasize that enough. Do not quit. Right now, what I'm going to say next is a funny thing, because in a way I'm saying number three is go where the money is. So I'm not saying quit what you're doing, but if you've been persistent, and it could be 12 months or 2 years or whatever, and it's definitely not working for you, do a 180-degree turn and go where the money is. And I'll tell you a story. I won't tell you her name. Her name was Sarah. And she was in tears, and she was up the fourth story of a tower block in tears, looking at a computer. I said, Sarah, she's a new client of mine. I said, what's the matter? She says, I've been trying to do this internet marketing for 2 years now, and I've spent money, and I'm nearly bankrupt, and I'm in tears, and it's not working. And I said, look, Sarah, I said, let's man up. I said, you've got a lovely personality. You've got a lovely way with yourself. You will never, ever make money at internet marketing, ever. So wake up to that fact and get down on street level and start knocking on doors using your personality and start selling something. She took that advice, and within 3 months, whatever company it was now, I can't remember, she was like the top salesperson, making a fortune. And one day she said to me, she said, I cannot believe it. I would still be stuck in that front of that computer buying more courses on internet marketing, and it just wasn't me. I didn't have the aptitude for it, but everybody kept saying, oh, money, internet marketing, it's all easy. I'll be making 15 grand a month. And it was costing me that in the courses. Now, suddenly I really am making a lot of money, but not sitting in front of a computer screen, kind of knocking on doors, selling something. So I'm saying to you, or whoever's listening, go where the money is and make it yours. Have a real wake-up call, because maybe you've been sold a pup and you're never going to make money doing what it is you're doing. So get into something where you're passionate about it and you will fly. And I know when I had the biggest chain of motorcycle shops in London, as I mentioned earlier, I was so passionate about motorcycles, it wasn't work, it was like a hobby. And things just clicked in and flew, particularly after I read Think and Grow Rich. And people have got to find their own thing. That's why I say do your own thinking, because it's most important.
Sure. Well, I think we can all relate to some of the lessons learned. And what a great story with Sarah. I, for one, have been guilty of buying books and courses, and subconsciously have felt that I've actually read the book or completed the course by buying it and not actually doing it or engaging with it. Like right to my right-hand side, I've got this book on Understanding Hypnosis by Dr. Brian Rowett, and how I even opened it? No, I haven't. It's been sat there for months. So I think this conversation's inspired me to go and read the damn thing.
Good. I'm a great believer in not just reading, but studying. But then you've got to visualize and you've got to perform. You've got to get out there and do the stuff and listen to that. With all that input you're putting in, listen to the small, still voice. And just that tip alone, that's where the $1 million ideas come from. That's where the ideas for books come from. That's where the ideas for new businesses come from. Listen to the small, still voice in silence, stillness and solitude. And that silence, stillness and solitude, I wrote about that in Talk and Grow Rich in 1981. I'm almost embarrassed to tell you how long I've been around.
Well, like I said to you earlier, you look younger every day.
I'm working on it.
So just moving forward, I mean, when it comes to like the present and the current climate, whether it's technological or political, I mean, what external challenges can people really expect to face in the years forthcoming?
It's a very good question, Rob. And I tell you, the people I talk to, it doesn't matter whether it's a changing currency, whether it's 9/11, whether it's Brexit, whether it's Trump. They're just looking forward to the future, and they know they're going to succeed and make money no matter what is thrown at them. Then there's always the other half of the people who, this Brexit, this is going to destroy our businesses. Trump's in the White House, we've had it. And all I'm saying is what you got to do is have a different mindset. You've got to set your sails athwart. No matter what is happening externally, you're going to win anyway. And that is the attitude people have got to adopt if they're going to fly in business, right? External challenges, they don't affect me. So me personally, I hardly ever watch the television. I hardly ever buy newspapers. I'm not really interested in what's happening externally. I'm really not. I'm absolutely focused on my clients' businesses, helping them. I got the eye of the tiger, and all of these kind of, if they are problems across the globe, let them get on with it. I'm a problem solver, not a problem maker. And I can only say to people, have a different mindset. If you think you're wrapped up in problems, it's because your mindset is wrong. It really is. And there will always be stuff happening globally. I remember the year 2000, the millennium, loads of people said, do you know what's going to happen in the year 2000, the millennium? I said, no, what? All the computers are going to crash. All the ships on the high sea will crash because their computers will go wrong and they won't have any navigation. Big Ben will stop working. Everything's going to stop working. Do you know what happened the next day?
Nothing?
Nothing. Of course not. Nothing. And what do you think is going to happen because of Brexit and Trump? Nothing. Just get your head down, get the eye of the tiger, start taking it seriously, start having a big load of fun in your life, and start making things happen for yourself.
Excellent.
Right? I can't be more emphatic. Get a life. You're only here for a few years.
Yeah.
Get a life. Make something happen.
Very true. Our time on this planet is finite. I mean, our time on this planet amounts to like a second in a year or something
absolutely.
like that.
A fraction of a second. So get out there and have some fun, right? And program your mind and listen to the output, because that output, the small, still voice, the eurekas, the hunches, the inspirations, that'll lead you to the moon and back. That'll help you create bestsellers of your own. That'll help you become a good trader, you know. Get your mind working like $1 billion biocomputer. That's the secret.
Well, that's very, very interesting. I mean, like you, we encourage our clients not to listen to the news or pay any attention to what's really going on, because it's going to cloud their judgments.
Absolutely. With you 100% on that, Rob, 100%.
And I remember, like, even at a seminar back in the height of the financial crisis, sure enough, people were running around like headless chickens, afraid of what was going to happen next. But actually, I think a lot of people's personal economies were fine. The problem is people were afraid because of the hype that was whipped up in the media. And I think that recessions are generally perpetuated by that.
Yeah, and you're getting the same now with Brexit and Trump, and the national, the press, the mainstream media are making a field day out of it, an absolute field day, and it's a nonsense, absolute nonsense. And like I say, I'm talking to people now who are interested in success, making money, having fun. Just get eye of the tiger yourself on your own business and start making some things happen, and get yourself into a different paradigm. Get into that zone, get into the vortex, get into the success mode. You've had enough of failure and poverty. Now's the time for abundance and success and fun. And that's where we take our clients, and we do it over and over again.
Fantastic. So get yourself down that and make it happen. Ron,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very wise words, and they'll be the watchwords for this interview. Thank you so much, Ron, for taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us this afternoon. Lastly, for further information, I know a lot of people who'll be watching this will be looking for more information about your good self and what you offer. Where can listeners specifically find you?
They can find out all about me and my business mentoring services at strategicbusinessmentoring.com. strategicbusinessmentoring.com, all one word.
Fantastic, Ron.
And that's what I do. That's what I do, and I love it. And it doesn't matter what sector it's in, whether it's property, whether it's retail, whether it's internet. We've had successes right across the board in countries all over the world, you know. And a lot of it is to do with mind power. Absolutely.
Well, it all sounds very interesting, and I'm going to be devouring some more of your books after this interview has taken place. I've only got 18 to go.
One more thing, Rob. You mentioned the Eureka Enigma. That book is now called The Millionaire Within. So I just thought I'd pick you up on that.
Okay,
thank you. It's now called The Millionaire Within, and it's available on Audible.
Okay, fantastic. Well, actually, I think that would be very beneficial to a lot of people who are too busy by their own admission to read, so they can go away for a walk and plug in to your audiobook and just let your words subconsciously absorb or consciously absorb.
Absolutely. Both, absolutely.
Fantastic, Ron. Thank you so much.
The Lazy Trader on Demand. Learn on the go from your smartphone or portable audio device. Only from The Lazy Trader, London's busiest trader training website. Only at thelazytrader.com.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.